In this video, we tell you a fascinating story of Richard Branson, the life of a rebellious billionaire that you should learn from today. Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. If you're new here, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get more videos like this. Let's get started without further ado. Richard Branson is a British business magnate, investor, and philanthropist who owes his wealth to the Virgin Group, a holding company that controls more than 400 companies. Richard Branson expressed his desire to be an entrepreneur at a young age. His first business at the age of 16 was a magazine called Student. In March 2000, Branson made a Knight of the Order of the British Empire at Buckingham Palace for his services to entrepreneurship. Through his work in retail, music, and transportation, with interests in land, air, sea, and space travel, his taste for adventure, and his humanitarian work, he has become a leading figure. In 2002, he was named in the BBC's poll of the 100 Greatest Britons. Now, let's see more about the life of Richard Branson. Beginnings of Richard Branson. Branson was born in Blackheath, London, and was the oldest child in his family. His parents were Eve Branson, a former ballet dancer and flight attendant, and Edward James Branson, a lawyer. Branson's grandfather, Sir George Arthur Harwin Branson, was a Privy Councillor and High Court Justice. Branson attended Calletcliff School in Surrey and then Cliff View House School in Sussex, before moving on to Stowe School, an independent school in Buckinghamshire, until he was 16 years old. Despite suffering from dyslexia and having poor academic performance, Branson received support from his parents at a young age. On his last day at school, his principal, Robert Drayson, predicted that Branson would either end up in jail or become a millionaire. Branson's mother was an entrepreneur herself, and one of her successful ventures was building and selling wooden tissue boxes and wastebaskets. Record business. Branson launched his music business in the same church where he operated his Student magazine. He conducted interviews for the magazine with notable figures of the late 1960s, such as Mick Jagger and R.D. Laing. His record store, operating under the name Virgin, offered significantly lower prices compared to the typical high street stores, particularly the W.H. Smith chain. Branson founded a record store on Oxford Street in London, envisioning it as an expansion of his Student magazine where people could gather and listen to music together, unlike the typical shops where customers would simply buy and leave. They searched for a vacant property in a busy location and found an empty first floor above a shoe store. Despite concerns about rent payments, the owner agreed to let them open the store as long as they paid after selling their first records. Branson and his team quickly built shelves, added cushions and 2 sofas, and offered vegetarian groceries for visitors. The store was named Virgin, based on a suggestion from a colleague, Tessa Watts, who proposed the name because they were all new to the business. The Tubular Bells story. Branson opened his first Virgin record store in London and later used funds raised and borrowed to purchase an old rundown country house, which he transformed into the Manor Studio. One day, an engineer from the studio called him to say that he had discovered a fantastic instrumental demo tape by a teenage boy named Mike Oldfield. Mike had taught himself to play multiple musical instruments while locked away in his bedroom to escape his alcoholic mother. He was frustrated and eager to release an album, but all the record companies Branson took the tape to insist he add vocals, which he didn't want to do. As a result, Branson decided to start his own record company. John Peel played the entire album on his radio show and described it as something extraordinary. Mike agreed to perform at London's Queen Elizabeth Hall with Mick Taylor of the Rolling Stones and Steve Winwood, but he panicked and canceled the show. Nonetheless, Tubular Bells has become hugely successful, selling over 16 million copies, and has been reissued several times. The soundtrack to The Exorcist, one of the highest-grossing films of the 1970s, also features one of its tracks. Virgin, the Rebel label. Virgin Records, under Branson's leadership, signed and supported controversial bands such as the Sex Pistols, which other companies were hesitant to sponsor. The label also signed well-known artists including the Rolling Stones, Peter Gabriel, UB40, Steve Winwood, and Paula Abdul, making it the largest independent record label in the world. Branson also received recognition for introducing obscure avant-garde music such as the Faust and Can to audiences and for bringing Culture Club to the music industry. In 1982, Virgin bought the gay nightclub Heaven, and in 1991, Branson, in consortium with David Frost, unsuccessfully bid for 3 ITV franchises under the name CPV-TV. Branson's only attempt as a music producer was in the early 1980s on the album Ba Ba Black Sheep by Singing Sheep in association with Doug McLean and Grace McDonald, which reached number 42 on the UK charts. However, in 1992, he sold the Virgin label to EMI for £500 million to keep an airline he had created afloat. Branson was emotional when the sale was completed because the record business had been the start of his empire. In 1996, he created V2 Records as a means to re-enter the music industry. Branson diversified his brand. Branson expanded his business empire into the airline industry, creating Virgin Atlantic Airways in 1984 and later launching Virgin Blue, now Virgin Australia, in 2000 and Virgin America in 2007. His first foray into the airline business came when his flight was canceled during a trip to Puerto Rico, prompting him to charter a plane and offer stranded passengers a ride for a small fee. In 1993, Branson took a perceived risk by entering the railroad industry with the creation of Virgin Trains, which won franchises for British Rail's intercity West Coast and cross-country sectors. He also acquired Euro-Belgian Airlines in 1996 and renamed it Virgin Express, which later merged with SN Brussels Airlines to become Brussels Airlines. Branson even started a national airline in Nigeria called Virgin Nigeria. His business ventures have made him one of the wealthiest individuals in the UK, with a net worth of over $4 billion in 2006. In the 1990s, British Airways and Virgin Atlantic had a series of conflicts which caused tensions and resulted in Virgin accusing British Airways of poaching its passengers, hacking into its computers, and leaking negative stories to the press about Virgin. The dispute was settled with British Airways paying Virgin compensation totaling £500,000, along with additional payments and legal fees. In 2004, Branson established a new space tourism company called Virgin Galactic, which aimed to provide suborbital space flights for paying customers, using technology licensed from Spaceship One. Branson also pledged to invest the profits from his companies, Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Trains, in green fuel research, which was valued at £3 billion. In 2006, Branson sold Virgin Mobile to NTL Telewest for almost £1 billion. Finally, in 2007, Virgin Media was launched to great publicity after being established as a new company. Branson previously owned a 75% stake in Virgin Mobile, but now he only owns 15% of the newly formed company called Virgin Media. In 2006, he established Virgin Comics and Animation, now known as Liquid Comics, to create original content for a global audience. In 2009, there were reports that Branson's Virgin organization was bidding for the former Honda Formula One team, and he expressed interest in Formula One, but only if the sport adopted a more environmentally friendly image. Virgin later sponsored the new GP brand team for the 2009 Formula One season and invested in an 80% purchase of Manor Grand Prix after the season ended, renaming the team Virgin Racing. Branson also sponsored the UK's 2010 Gordon Bennett hot air balloon race, which had 16 hydrogen balloons participating in a race across Europe. By April 2012, Virgin Care had secured a 5-year agreement to provide various health services previously managed by NHS Surrey, and as of March 2015, the company had taken control of over 230 services across the UK. Additionally, in July 2012, Branson revealed plans for a new space launch system called Launcher One. The project has already secured 4 commercial clients, and 2 companies are working on developing standardized satellite buses that work with the Launcher One system. This move is expected to create new opportunities for small satellite launches. A philanthropist. Branson is an accomplished philanthropist, creating the Virgin Unite Foundation in 2004 and pledging to give half of his fortune to charity. He is also part of the Giving Pledge, a philanthropic campaign formed by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, in which they and other great billionaires of the world pledged to give the majority of their money to charity, modeled after former billionaires John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie, who did it in the early 20th century. Personal life and fortune. Richard Branson married Kristen Tomasi in 1972 and divorced her in 1979. He tied the knot for the second time in 1989 with Joan Templeman on his private island, Necker Island, which he owns and has a yacht named after it, the Necker Belle. Branson has a daughter named Holly, born 1981, and a son named Sam, born 1985, with his second wife, Joan. He sadly revealed in an interview with Piers Morgan that he and Joan had a daughter named Claire Sarah, who died at just 4 days old in 1979. In 1998, Branson wrote his autobiography titled Losing My Virginity, which became an international bestseller. He mourned the loss of fellow adventurer Steve Fawcett, who disappeared in September 2007, and paid tribute to him in an article for Time magazine titled My Friend Steve Fawcett. Branson is a sports enthusiast and has some world records in kite surfing. He suffered injuries including torn ligaments and a cracked cheek while cycling in the British Virgin Islands in August 2016, and had to be taken to a Miami hospital for scans and x-rays. In 2013, Branson became the president of the Old Stoic Society of Stowe School, and in March 2015, he called for the decriminalization of almost all drug use in the UK, following Portugal's lead. Branson's Necker home island was severely damaged by Hurricane Irma in 2017, marking the second time it was damaged by a hurricane after it caught fire when Hurricane Irene struck in 2011. Impact of COVID-19 on Richard Branson. Richard Branson has been greatly affected by the COVID-19 crisis as the Virgin Group was hit hard by the pandemic. Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Australia are both operating in countries where the group has faced difficulties in obtaining necessary loans from the UK and Australian governments to continue operations. Virgin Australia declared bankruptcy in April 2020, which was a historic event as the first major airline to collapse in Asia-Oceania due to the pandemic. Virgin Atlantic's financial status has also been significantly impacted, although they have not filed for bankruptcy yet. Despite these setbacks, Branson remains optimistic that they are not the end of the road, but rather a new beginning. The passion, happiness, and pleasure of doing what you love is something that will drive your business without even realizing it, and Richard knew it from the beginning. That's all for today, folks. Thank you for spending some time with us. If you found this video interesting, let us know what you think in the comment box. Make sure to hit the like button and notification bell, and subscribe to our channel to get access to more interesting videos from us. While you are here, kindly click on one of the other 2 videos you see on your screen. See you there!